Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to all of you who are joining us here on Zoom and others who are watching through Facebook Live. We're really excited to welcome you to this Arts Information Evening to tell you a little bit about the Faculty of Arts at the University of Calgary. My name is Dr. Dawn Johnston. I am the Associate Dean of Teaching, Learning, and Student Engagement in the Faculty of Arts at the University of Calgary. I'm also a two-time alumnus of this university and have been working at the university for most of my adult life. So I'm always excited to have the opportunity to share with other people who are considering the University of Calgary some of the experiences that we would love to be able to offer you if you decide to join us next year. So we are going to get started and spend the next 50 to 60 minutes together and hopefully have some time at the end to answer any questions that you might have as well. I want to begin by acknowledging the traditional territories where the University of Calgary is located. And the U of C is located on the traditional territories of the people of Treaty 7, which includes the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprised of the Siksika, the Piikani, and the Kainai First Nations, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Districts 5 and 6. And depending on where you're joining us from, that kind of land acknowledgement may be familiar to you or may be new. And we always at the university like to start out by acknowledging that we are guests on the traditional territories of folks who we're very lucky that are sharing their land with us. So we are excited that if you join us next year, you'll be able to see some of this beautiful Alberta landscape in person instead of just on Zoom and in this slide. And we really look forward to being able to show off to you. So, a little bit about what our plan is for this evening. So, I'm going to start a little bit by talking about programs in the Faculty of Arts, just to give you a sense of the wide diversity of programs that we have within our faculty, as well as the kinds of courses that you could be taking when you are a student in the Faculty of Arts. We're also going to hear from some of our fantastic Faculty of Arts professors. We've got three professors with us tonight from three different departments and programs within our faculty. And you're going to get to hear a little bit about the kind of research and teaching that they do. And you were also going to get a chance to hear them talk to us a little bit about how people in their discipline are engaging with topics relating to current events. So we'll have some time to discuss that in the section on how relevant is an arts degree. We also have a couple of our fantastic student leaders with us tonight who are going to be able to talk to you a little bit about their student experience as U of C students in the Faculty of Arts, and some advice for you about the kinds of things that you might like to get involved with when you become a student at University of Calgary. We'll also talk briefly about some opportunities to enhance your degree with some special bonuses that you can add to your academic program. And then we're going to talk finally about the Arts Student Center, which is our advising center on campus. I'm going to introduce you to one of our fantastic program advisors. And if you have questions about programs, she's going to be able to answer them as well. So we will leave some time for questions at the end, and we'll make sure that if we leave you with a contact slide so that if we don't get through all the questions that you've put into the question and answer function on Zoom, then you can get in touch with us and follow up with those questions. So I always like to start with a word cloud when it comes to talking about the Faculty of Arts because it's hard to explain to people just how much breadth and depth there is within the faculty. A lot of people assume that a Faculty of Arts is going to be a faculty of art. And indeed, we do have programs in the creative and performing arts and the visual arts, but the Faculty of Arts also encompasses a variety of subject areas that we would consider to be in the humanities and the social sciences. So we have everything from dance to political science, from visual studies to economics, from drama to law and society. And one of the real beauties of taking a degree in the Faculty of Arts is that even once you've identified your primary area of interest and the area that you might major in or declare a minor in, you still have the opportunity to take courses in a wide variety of these other areas. And students often discover that they come in with a really strong idea of what it is that they want to study, and they take some options courses throughout their first year and discover that there's a whole area that they didn't know existed in terms of university study that is now an area that they want to specialize in. So we really make it possible for students to move around from program to program if they change their mind about what they want to be primarily studying, but also for students to sort of dip a toe in the water of a variety of other subject areas. So now I want to introduce you to some of my colleagues from the Faculty of Arts. So I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Aisha Mian Akram, who is a professor in sociology and our Law and Society program. Dr. Courtney Conshu, who's a professor in history, and Dr. Simon Spanswick, who is a professor in psychology. And I'm going to ask each of these folks to take a moment or two to tell us a little bit about what they study and what they research and teach in, so that you can get a sense of the kinds of courses you might have a chance to take when you're at the University of Calgary. Dr. Mian Akram, do you want to start out?
Sure thing. Thanks for having me. Good evening, everyone. Um, it's a pleasure to be here and tell you a little bit about what I teach and what I research. So I'm an assistant professor in the teaching stream in the Department of Sociology at the University of Calgary. I teach in sociology and in law and society. So let me tell you a little bit about the courses that I teach, and you'll get a little bit of sense of what it's like to take a class in sociology or law and society. So one of the courses I teach in sociology is sociology of racialization and ethnicity. So understanding concepts such as identity, racism, indigeneity, colonialism, diasporas. And built into this course are a lot of opportunities for group work and discussion between students around recognizing what is racialization, how do we understand racialization as constructed, all of those kind of dynamics that relate to understanding race and racialization. I also teach a course on critical feminist theory, where students read and discuss feminist social theories to develop an understanding of how our social world is gendered. And I love this class because it's a project-based course where students first, they complete a rant, they choose an issue that they're really passionate about, they write a rant, and then they plan, implement, and evaluate a social action project. So they actually carry out some kind of social action on that issue that they ranted about. So in the past, students have organized letter writing campaigns to politicians. They've organized events on campus for international students. They've organized poetry writing workshops, created wellness journals. Some really fascinating projects coming out of that course. I also teach a course on qualitative research methods. So it's a course-based undergraduate research experience where students actually design, plan, implement, and carry out and present on an entire qualitative research project in the course of a semester. And in that course, students are actually in their research weeks right now. So each class is kind of like a mini conference. And students are presenting on their research on some of the topics are perceptions of generative AI, team building in university sports teams, how students manage stress when balancing demands on their time with school and work and personal life. So another really fascinating course. I also teach in law and society. Two of the courses that I teach are, one of the courses is called Equality Issues. So it's a really fascinating course where students think critically about the concept of equality. What does equality mean, both in the law and in sociology, and starting to get an understanding of how the law can protect, but also exclude different groups in society. So we look at things like justice, colonialism, ability, poverty, and so on in that course. And then finally, I also teach a course on self-regulation. So where students learn about how we follow non-legal codes of conduct? How do we regulate ourselves within the society that we're living in? So we talk about topics like moral regulation. We even look at perceptions of beauty and self-image. So a real range, and so those are my teaching areas, and my research also overlaps with those quite a bit. So looking at intersections of religion, gender, subjectivities, qualitative research as well. So that's just a little quick snapshot of what I do here at the university.
Just a little quick
Just
snapshot.
a little quick snapshot.
That's fantastic. Thanks so much. Lots of
Welcome.
fascinating subjects in there, but also really need to hear about the kinds of assignments that your students do and the kinds of activities they're taking on in class. So thanks for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
Next, I'm going to call on Dr. Conchu to talk to us about her work.
Hi, everyone. I am a medieval historian, so I think in general in the history department, we do a lot of critical reading and writing. I think we might be one of the more reading heavy departments in our faculty. And common across history is reading primary sources of whatever period you're looking at, from the classical period to the modern day, and we have people covering every geographical area. The area I look at is Northern and Western Europe from about 600 to 1000. And there, what I like to do with students is have them look at texts that were written in the 6th, 7th century. How do we analyze these texts? How do we get into the minds of people who are living at the time? And are they really very different than us? How do we try to understand their worldview and the point of view that they're writing from? And how can we use our understanding of these texts to understand how people are today? Have things changed? Do we still do things the same way? How do we construct societies? How do we construct identities? How do we see ourselves in relation to the state or religion or each other? Things like that. I research mostly identity formation and state formation from the 6th to the 10th century. And I've been looking at the Frankish Empire, so what becomes France eventually, and England and Scandinavia, and how those areas interact with each other, how power is formed, how leaders construct ideologies and legitimize themselves. And I teach some of that in my classes. So I've got a couple of classes that are sort of general surveys that look at the entire medieval period or just the early medieval period. I have a course I'm doing right now called Vikings, where we look at what do we actually know about the Vikings. There isn't actually any written primary material that Vikings wrote themselves. So we have to look at outside perspectives, usually people who are being attacked by Vikings, or material culture. And that's something I use in all of my courses: objects, landscapes. How do we look at a piece of jewelry, a weapon, clothing, a symbol, a plate, and use that to understand how a culture worked, how power was structured. So yeah, that's a fun class. I've also got a class on early medieval England that goes from 400 to 1100. I've got a brand new class that I'm starting next semester that I've been working on for a couple of years that I'm really excited about. This is a material culture survey. So it looks at cultures through the lens of things, objects that people used, also landscapes and the text that they constructed from 400 to 1600, looking at all of Europe, Northern Africa, and the Middle East. And in this course, students will, at the very beginning of semester, they will find an object, a thing from a catalog that I'm going to give them. And they'll spend the whole semester in small groups researching that object, the culture that it belongs to, working together on what kind of sources can we even use to help fill this in, writing short reports. And then at the end of the semester, they will write a museum text about 100 words, and they will put the object on display in the library. And we're going to have an official exhibition that will be open to the public of about 25 objects from my 120 students that are in this course, which is just a really fun way of interacting with past things and sources and showing how these things still matter. They have an effect. They have an emotional effect when you look at them. But they can also really help us understand how societies still function by giving us a point of separation from contemporary politics and societies, looking at it from a very neutral perspective of how other people in different areas did things in the past.
That's great. Thank you so much. So interesting to hear both of you talk about aspects of identity and culture and sort of the objects and practices and texts that help us understand everything from the very distant past up unto, the very contemporary moment. And yeah, just really interesting overlaps between what you talked about there. How about you, Dr. Spanswick?
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Simon Spanswick. I'm an associate professor in the psychology department, also an alumnus of the University of Calgary. So I did my undergraduate degree here a number of years ago that I don't care to admit. Before I get started, this is the second time I think I've done this evening, and I absolutely love hearing from different professors from different departments in the Faculty of Arts. I'm like, there are courses that you're both teaching that I'd absolutely love to take. My background is actually not psychology; it's neuroscience, and so I am by trade a behavioral neuroscientist that has an interest in learning and memory. And so a lot of my research focuses on how the brain learns and remembers. And I use a rodent model, specifically working with rats, to try and figure out the answers to those types of questions. I'm also in the teaching stream, and so a vast majority of my time is spent engaging with and interacting with the undergraduate population, which I absolutely love. I teach a number of different courses. One of them is Introductory Neuroscience, so brain and behavior. Again, one of my favorite courses to teach because I get to talk about all the cool things that we know about brain and ensuing behavioral phenomena. The psychology department, it sounds like the other units tonight, takes a very hands-on approach to education, something that I suspect you'll see across the Faculty of Arts as a whole. And so I also teach another of them, a number of other courses like methods in neuroscience, where you get hands-on experience utilizing some of the tools that allows us to measure brain and behavior. I think one of the coolest courses I teach is the behavioral neuroscience course. Maybe cool to some and not to others when I say you get to work with rats for the entire semester. And you get to design and implement a number of experiments and collect the data and analyze it. It's an absolutely fantastic hands-on approach to learning some of the neuroscientific tools I love. One of my favorite things is to watch the shift in the undergraduates from day one when they're a little bit nervous about working with and handling rats to near the end of the semester where they just stop on by and they want to come and hang out with all of us. So yeah, it sounds like a very similar approach for everyone else here with this hands-on education that we all get behind.
That's great. Thanks. Yeah, I'm glad somebody likes working with the rats because I know it's important work for neuroscience and for psychology, but it sure wouldn't be me spending time in that particular lab. Yeah, I mean, lots of echoes here around what we tend to call experiential learning. So the idea of learning by doing and really connecting the sort of the theoretical and historical and research-based understanding that is at the core of a university education, with a chance to get your hands dirty and really sort of engage in a really physical and material way with the things that are important to our work. So thank you so much, all of you, for telling us a little bit about that. Now, I promised we were going to have an activity, and here it is. So, I mean, we are all experienced as people who work in a faculty of arts, with people, with parents, especially if there are any parents who happen to be watching tonight, saying, "But what are you going to do with an arts degree? And how relevant is an arts degree?" And this is an activity we started doing as part of recruitment and student engagement events, probably 7 or 8 years ago now, where we go to either the CBC or the Calgary Herald or the Globe and Mail websites for the day and pull a news headline for today, and then ask each of our professors to talk about how somebody who studies in their area might engage with this kind of a contemporary news topic. So the article that we chose from today was the headline is Crow's Nest Pass, which is an area in southern Alberta, voted for coal. Other Alberta communities don't all share the enthusiasm. So this is about a vote that happened recently in a rural area in Alberta, to bring back coal mining to the area, and this has been, a contentious topic, and but interestingly, something that all of these professors that we have here with us tonight would have a way to engage with. So I'm going to briefly ask each of them in the same order that they introduce themselves to tell us a little bit about how somebody who studies in their area might be interested in this particular topic. Dr. Mian Akram.
Sure. Okay, this is an interesting one. And I really enjoyed reading through the article to think through how a sociologist would try to understand what's happening here. So sociology is about understanding shared social connections between people, between groups, between communities, whether those are communities based on a shared social experience or more formalized communities such as institutions, such as the legal system or the government, for example. And sociologists are really fascinated with this connection and between individual agencies. So individuals taking action, individuals doing something or choosing not to do something, and the impact of broader kind of society on those actions. So this interrelationship between individuals and society. So I think coming to this news piece, the first thing that I noticed as a sociologist is the importance that's placed on listening to community voices when it comes to decisions that are made about the community itself. So decisions that are being made about resource allocation, about jobs, employment, about bringing in coal mining, bringing what's happening in that community, the importance that's placed on listening to the people who are going to be directly impacted and affected. So that amplification of the community voice would be a really interesting angle for a sociologist to enter into this conversation. So they would ask questions like, whose voices are being privileged in that community voice, whose voices are silenced, what are the power dynamics at play when putting together this letter from the community, and how is the voice being incorporated into decision making? What are the politics surrounding how decisions about resources get made? So these are all questions sociologists would ask. A specific area of sociology is called political sociology. So political sociologists would also be interested in the voting process itself, maybe doing an analysis of the demographic makeup of the voters. The news piece mentions that there was a higher voter turnout this time compared to the last election. So a sociologist would want to investigate the conditions and the context that led to that increase in turnout. And then finally, sociologists, I think, would also be really interested in the impact of this decision on the communities themselves. What are the corporate interests that are at play, and how will the decision to bring the coal project affect the daily lived experiences, the day-to-day experiences of the people in those communities? So they would probably want to keep an eye on that, do some investigations, do some interviews, do some surveys to keep an eye on how the bringing back this project to the community is impacting the community themselves. So those are a few of the questions that a sociologist might be interested in when they read about this news piece, and they would be interested in investigating that a little bit further.
Very exciting. Interesting to think of all those different angles into thinking about
Mhm.
this debate. That's great.
Absolutely.
How about you, Dr. Conchu?
So I think a historian would look at this from one of two angles. The first angle is environmental history. We actually have two environmental historians in our department. One looks at the history of coal and oil and energy transitions. So she has been really involved in what does the dismantling of the coal industry in Germany look like? What do attempts to transition away from oil and into renewable energies in Alberta or in northern Canada look like? She's got a new project she's starting on the north right now. And we have another environmental historian who looks a little bit more at animals and landscapes and how those things affect people. When I do environmental history, I'm still mostly focused on identity. So I take a look at what is in the environment and how does that affect the people who live there, and how do the people who live there affect the environment. So it's the interplay between them. And is the environment a thing, a powerless thing, or does it engage actively with people? And do we construct meaning out of the environment? So for coal, I mean, my period, there is no coal. We don't really work with that. But I talk a lot about humans' effects on the environment and relation to, well, if we look at the Vikings in the late 9th century when they settled Iceland, they deforested the entire island by about 90% of it within 20 years. And humans' effect on the environment, you can see that everywhere when there's new people entering a mostly uninhabited space or when it is already inhabited. I also look at monuments that people build into the landscapes and how those change over time. So that's one way that you could look at it. Another way that historians would look at something like this would be the how we construct the past or our use and abuse of the past. So I think with a case like this, with Crow's Nest Past, this isn't just about what's going on today and the economies today. It's about legacy, right? It's about the sense of who we are and how did that come to be? And it goes back over a century, right? And to the earliest coal mines. And our ancestors, if people had ancestors they know about who were there at the time, who formed the town, what were their motivations, and coal is a part of their identity. And that's one reason why it's still going to be relevant in people's minds today. That's how we would look at it.
It's super interesting and interesting to think about. Like I think we mostly think about history as being about the past, but the notion of how the people in the future will understand now as a past, I think is really fascinating too when you think about that legacy piece. So thanks for that. How about you, Simon Spanswick?
Um, this is a fascinating article. So, um, in my introductory neuroscience class, I make the claim that neuroscience has something to say about everything, right? It informs everything that we do. And I feel like Dr. Johnson was listening and said, okay, here's a challenge for you. What does neuroscience have to say about this situation? And so psychology itself is incredibly diverse, like sociology and history. And I think different people with different areas of expertise would likely have a different response to this question. So, a social psychologist would focus on something slightly differently than an environmental psychologist or a health psychologist, et cetera. But I'm a behavioral neuroscientist. So what do I think about this? Well, when I think about behavior, so the things that we do, all behavior is motivated. There's a reason why we do the things we do. And a first question I might ask is, what motivated your response to this vote? Why did you vote the way that you did? Um, Really, what I'm getting at is why do and how do people respond to these sorts of phenomena? There's a really famous test in psychology that I suspect a lot of you will be familiar with. It's called the marshmallow test. And so here's what you do. You sit someone down and you put a marshmallow in front of them and say, hey, you can have this marshmallow now, or if you wait 15 minutes, I'll give you two marshmallows. And so it's a standard test to assess delayed gratification. Am I willing to wait to gain access to more resources? What's interesting is it turns out your current situation informs your choice. And so if you're resource poor, you don't have a lot of food, you don't have access to resources, you tend to go for the immediate, the close resource that you can grab. And I took a look at Crow's Nest Pass, and I've been sort of paying attention to this story. And a lot of people are talking about lack of jobs, cost of living, etc. And while climate change is something that we all need to be concerned about, when your day-to-day life is impacted by lack of jobs, lack of resources, that's where you tend to go. And so it's an interesting balance that we see here. No one is negating the importance of climate change, but how people respond locally, I think, is something that we politicians, policymakers, really do need to pay attention to. And so that's how I might approach it as a behavioral neuroscientist.
That's fascinating. I feel like we've for many years referred to the canary in the coal mine. This might be the marshmallow in the coal mine.
Yeah,
So
there you go. Yeah, great.
thanks for that. Really, such a great opportunity to hear from some of our professors about the kinds of ways that their subject areas approach really contemporary topics. And one of the things I liked about this topic was that it's something that a lot of people associate climate change and resource extraction are topics that a lot of people associate with scientific disciplines. And I wanted to kind of demonstrate to folks who are joining us tonight that these are also topics that are deeply taken up by folks in the arts and humanities as well. So that I think that worked well. So I want to talk about a couple of other things that you might be interested in knowing as you're thinking about what subject areas you might study, but also ways that you might like to enhance your degree. Something we talked about quite a number of times already this evening is experiential learning. And one of the best known versions of experiential learning is work integrated learning or cooperative education. So co-op is an educational strategy that integrates work with study. So essentially, students who are doing a co-op degree in whatever subject area they are studying alternate. They do their first 2 years full-time in the classroom, and then for the remainder of their degree they alternate between paid work terms, paid full-time work terms, and academic semesters. So these are really great opportunities for students to explore career options while also, earning money that will help cover those costs of university, which we know are always increasing. It's a great opportunity to receive really dedicated support with resume and cover letter and interview skills as you're getting ready to go on work terms, but also while you're on those work terms, and then once you're getting ready to graduate. And a fantastic opportunity to network with professionals and build those references that are going to be really important for when it comes time to apply for a job or another graduate or professional degree program. Our students who are in co-op do a minimum of 3 paid work terms throughout their degree to bring them to at least 12 months of work experience. This does extend the time in degree because you still need to do the same number of courses. But by the time students who've done a co-op designation graduate, they've got a full year of paid work experience under their belts. And a lot of our students really notice that that gives them a leg up when it comes time to apply for jobs upon graduation. So it's something that is available in almost all of our programs in the Faculty of Arts, and a great thing for you to think about in the first year of your program. So something to keep in mind. If you've got questions about co-op, you can reach out to artscoop@ucalgary.ca. Another opportunity that I want to mention to you is the Arts and Science Honors Academy. So the Arts and Science Honors Academy is something that's unique to the University of Calgary, and it's a partnership between the Faculty of Arts and the Faculty of Science. It is a competitive entry program where students who are high achieving but also have a strong interest in both arts and sciences can apply to be considered for this small cohort program. So students who are accepted into Arts and Science Honors Academy, or ASHA as we call it, take 5 courses together as a cohort throughout the 4 years of their degree. They're in a group of typically about 30 to 35 students, and they take courses together with topics like ways of making and knowing, questions for our time, the nature of research, and then they take a capstone seminar together where they all bring together the work that they are doing in their honors degree programs into an exhibition or conference style event at the end to sort of show off the work that they've been doing. ASHA students are a really fantastic and tight-knit group of students who have really fascinating, broad interdisciplinary interests. So they all participate in an experiential learning activity in their 3rd year, which is sometimes a study abroad experience, an intercultural experience, or a volunteer or workplace experience that allows them to bring together the things that they've been learning in their academic classes with a community engaged learning opportunity. Students also all to pursue an honors program in their choice of majors in the Faculty of Arts or Science. So these are, like I said, all high achieving students, but genuinely interested in a variety of different ways of understanding. So if you think that sounds like you, if you're someone who listened to 3 professors talking from very different perspectives about the same things tonight, and that sort of piqued your interest, then ASHA might be something of interest to you, and I'll encourage you to think about it. You can check it out on the University of Calgary website, and if you've got questions, you can email asha@ucalgary.ca. Okay, and now I'm going to briefly turn things over to my colleague Tabri Chupik, who's going to tell you a little bit about the Arts Student Center and the folks who can support you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tabri. I'm one of the academic advisors in the Arts Student Center. We do advising by appointment during the mornings, Monday to Thursday. We have drop-ins every day, every afternoon. It's easy to kind of connect with us in our office. You come in person, call on the phone. We have virtual appointments. Yeah, so lots of different ways to connect with us. Reasons why you might connect with our office, choosing your classes, especially at going into your first year, just figuring out what do I actually need to take in my first year. After that, after your first year, looking forward towards what's required for my whole degree. How do I get from my first year to graduation and the steps along that way? You might come in if you are doing experiential learning, if you're going on exchange, if you're going to have some credits transfer over from a different university. Um, if you're wanting to take a class that is full, sometimes students will ask for an overload. There's various different waivers or requests that would go through our office. The main point of contact, though, for our office is just a student wondering, what do I need for my degree? What classes should I take in the winter semester? Yeah, that's kind of the main point of contact for our office. As well, just learning about what programs we offer in arts. If you're looking to add a minor onto your degree, if you're looking to combine your degree with something in another faculty or do 2 arts degrees combined together, we can kind of discuss like what are the options within the Faculty of Arts and kind of what your degree progression will look like while you're at the university.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tabri. And our office, this is where my office is as well, in the Art Student Center, and you'll notice the acronym is ASC, or ask. And that's kind of convenient because it is the place to go with all your questions. And our front office staff are super friendly, and I know that there are some times in the semester that they spend more time giving people directions to other offices than they do even answering questions relating to advising, and they're perfectly happy to do that. So if you join us next year, we hope that you will very early on in the year make a point of stopping by the Art Student Center and saying hello, and we'll make sure that we get you connected with an advisor who can help ensure that you're staying on track throughout your program. Now I get to introduce you to a couple of our fantastic students. So we have two students who are here with us tonight. We have Simka Atanda, who is one of our, not just a student in the Faculty of Arts, but also one of our Students' Union elected representatives for the Faculty of Arts. And then we also have Luis, who's here, though his name appears as future students on your screen, because Luis is doing double duty tonight, both as a student representative and the president of our Faculty of Arts Students Association, and as someone who's working for our recruitment and admissions team. Um, uh, Luis is also a co-op student, so he could probably answer questions if you've got them later about the co-op program as well. So I'm going to ask each of our students to introduce themselves and briefly tell us why you chose the University of Calgary and your program, what you like best about being a student here, and one recommendation that you would give to a new student about their first year on campus. So, Simka, would you like to start us out?
Sure. And let me just get that question right. So it's why did I choose the University of Calgary? And
Yeah.
then what was the second one, third one?
The second one was what you like best about being a student here. And the
Okay.
third one is what's one piece of advice that you'd give to a future student?
Sweet. Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Simka, and I am a fourth year international relations student. And I'm also minoring in security studies, which is also a fun interdisciplinary minor that everyone should absolutely consider. And I'm not just plugging it just because I like it. I am also the Student Union representative for the Faculty of Arts. So the Student Union is a separate organization that represents students at the university, and we do fun work with professors and the faculty administration, like Dr. Don and other people, to just basically make sure that students' voices are being heard. And now to your question, why UCalgary? I actually didn't choose UCalgary. I'll tell you, UCalgary chose me. I applied to the University of Alberta, and I know that's a tricky subject around Calgary, but the University of Calgary was actually quicker with the response, and so I chose it. I said, okay, I'll come to the University of Calgary, spend 1 year, and then transfer. And I've been here now 4 years, and I haven't left. And so, yeah, I think it's a really, really good place. The city is great. The university is absolutely incredible, and in my field, so international relations and security, I think we have one of the best programs, both undergrad and masters, anywhere in Canada and probably even North America. And so that's why I'd say I stayed in the University of Calgary. And what is the best thing I enjoy here? I think there is a structure and just the way maybe you've experienced in high school, at university as well, there is definitely a structure as to how many credits you need to complete, how many classes you need to take. But I think if you're fascinated about something, if you take options classes and you're interested in that subject, there's still room within the system to be flexible. All you just need to do is just ask. So you ask at Ask, so the Arts Advising Center, and they'll be able to like explain everything to you. I have appointments every term where someone who really knows how the system works says, okay, what do you want? And then I tell them, and then they're like, you have 5 different ways of getting it done. And so I've used that all throughout the university. And I think when I'll be graduating, I'll graduate with a degree, 2 minors, and a co-op certification as well. So there is definitely room within the system to be flexible. And one piece of advice, when we come to the university, especially I as an international student, for example, from Nigeria, I didn't really know my way around the university. I didn't know anyone. But I think if you take a deep dive. I know it's scary for many people, but it's very easy. So talk to someone right beside you in class, talk to someone in a club. There's usually clubs week. The Students' Union hosts club week at the beginning of every term where new students can meet all the different clubs on campus. We have around 300 plus, ranging from basketball enthusiasts to United Nations Child Emergency Club, Nigerian Bengali, French language clubs, STEM, bouldering, esports, even religious clubs as well. And so if you talk to people in clubs, you make friends, you talk to people in class, and over time, you become that popular kid on campus. And so I think you need to just put yourself out there. The people you are friends with at university will be friends for the rest of your life. So if you invest in relationship and education at the same time, I think, you know, the stars is your starting point.
That's fantastic, Sika. Wow, I'm inspired. I want to come back to school now. I didn't know that story about how you came here for a year and then thought you'd go to a different university, but that was my Calgary experience too. It's a city that hooks people, and I'm glad we got to keep you. So thanks for sharing that. How about you, Luis?
Yeah, so hi, my name is Luis. The program that I'm currently pursuing is a Bachelor of Arts honors in political science. So honors means that you write a thesis. So if you're interested in that research component, I would strongly suggest you pursue an honors degree within the major that you end up choosing to pursue. I'm completing a minor in security studies, also like Simca, within the Department of Political Science, and I'm completing another one in Law and Society, which is within our sociology department. In fact, I'm a student of Dr. Akram, who's here with us tonight. Yeah, and I was also a co-op student for 1 year at International Student Services, which is the immigration office at the University of Calgary. I would strongly suggest that if you're really trying to figure out what kind of sector or what kind of career pathway you would like to go in, I would strongly suggest going into the co-op program because it definitely gives you that outlook of the job market and the potential pathways that you can take. And finally, I'm pursuing an embedded certificate in pluralism and global citizenship. So, and you know, the program or the components of the program that I'm taking relates to the first question that Dr. Johnston asked us, which is why I chose UCalgary. To me, would be the flexibility that the university offers for our students in particular in order to complement their own degree. So as I mentioned, I started as you know, a regular Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, but as I started to gain more of an understanding of what I liked, where I wanted to go in terms of my professional life, I started to see what you know, components I could add to my degree. So initially, I never contemplated even doing an embedded certificate. However, by going to the Arts Student Center, I talked with the advisors and they let me know that I was eligible for a certificate. And I'm like, you know what? I think I could greatly benefit from it. So yeah, I think UCalgary offers so many great opportunities for you to explore what you would like to pursue as in terms of your own professional experience. That was really just, you know, what put, you know, the cherry on top of the cake. So that's why I chose UCalgary. In terms of what I like the most about UCalgary would be the amount of opportunities that our campus community offers. So if you're someone that is interested in volunteering, we have plenty of volunteering opportunities, whether you're interested in the administrative side of volunteering to gain experience, maybe you're interested on community building and in student engagement portion, you can also volunteer in that part. If you're someone that is interested into research, there's plenty of opportunities for you to get involved, whether it's through a studentship or through our Pew Awards. You know, option for you to pursue research. And also, we have such a strong and vibrant community within the student level that I would strongly recommend everyone to take a look at the different student organizations that are on campus for you to have a look as to what a Calgary student, you know, feels like aside of the academic component, which I really think is pretty strong within our university. And finally, in terms of a piece of advice that I would have for all of you is don't compare yourself to any other student. Every student, and this is something that it took me a while to realize, is that every student has their own path. So you might meet someone that has this GPA or has taken this internship or is doing this and that. that's their own path, and that's what works for them, and that's what they're interested in. You have your own pathway. So don't try to compare to other person, because it's not a competition. University is a place for you to explore what you like, what you don't like, what you really would like to get into, and try out here and there. And I think the University of Calgary really offers that opportunity for you to try, experience, and if you don't like it, try to find the right place for you to, go into. So that would be my piece of advice.
That's great advice, and I'm hearing from both of you sort of the academic opportunities are fantastic and stimulating, and the classes are great, but
Yeah.
so important to get involved beyond the academics too,
Yeah.
and to get involved in those activities that are going to be exciting and interesting and fulfilling for you, but are also going to help you build those relationships that are going to last a lifetime. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing those, both Simca and Louise. I really appreciated hearing from you. Okay, so we have finished our formal information for you now, and I think Luis has been keeping an eye on question and answer. And so what I'm going to ask Luis to do is, if there are a few questions, we've got about 6 minutes left. If there are a few questions that you think would be great for me to answer out loud, or for Tabri to answer, or one of our professors, then we can do that, and then we'll also sort of get moving on answering some of those questions directly in writing.
Yes. So far, we have one question. So the question is, when do you take a minor, and how many classes does it typically add?
Mm. Tabri, I'm going to ask you to answer that one.
Yeah, so for a minor, it is 10 classes in that particular subject area. It wouldn't necessarily add anything on to your degree, because as we've talked about, arts degrees are very flexible. There's lots of room for open options. So generally, students will fit those 10 classes for the minor just within your open options. So within the normal 40 classes that's required for your degree.
Thank you. So
Great.
we have a follow-up question on that. So would there be any additional cost associated with enrolling into a minor program?
No additional costs because you are just taking it within your degree requirements. Um, it's possible that if you choose a minor from a different faculty, they might have a slightly different tuition structure. So in that sense, it might cost a little bit different, but within like the Faculty of Arts, like I said, the minor fits within your degree, so there's not an additional cost.
That's great. Yeah. And I think it's always helpful to mention, like when we talk about things like majors and minors, like when we talk about a major, that's the area where you're going to take the highest number of courses and you're going to get a real sense of depth. A minor is kind of like a mini major in some senses, but these are all the courses that you take are all going to contribute to the roughly 4 to 5 years worth of courses that you'll take throughout your program. So neither majors nor minors extend your program, but always useful to be asking to be visiting the advisors at least once a year to make sure you're staying on track and getting those courses in the order that you need them.
Great. So now we have another question related to psychology. So this prospective student is wondering whether psychology would pair well with philosophy, either as a double major or as a major and minor.
Well, Simon, I'm going to ask you to speak to that, though I think it sounds like a fascinating combination.
Yeah, happy to jump in. So it turns out psychology comes from philosophy. So yes, they would play well together. What I would say though, and this is something that our department head often says, and I think it's been reiterated here, is try everything once, try the fun things twice. And that will allow you to pick a minor that not only might pair well with psychology, but pairs well with you, I think is important. And so sociology, history, we have people who have taken psychology and done a minor in dance. All of them pair well together. So go where your interests lie, but definitely philosophy, yep, no problem at all, would fit perfectly.
Great.
So the next question that we have is related to the co-op program, which is, would it add an extra year to their degree should they pursue a co-op education option?
Yeah, so I'll briefly answer that. And so it does extend your degree typically by about a year's worth of time, because for 3 of the semesters that you would otherwise be in school, you're actually going to be on work terms in professional environments. So you still have to take the same total number of courses that you would need to graduate with a degree in your area, but it extends the time. So you're not paying additional years worth of tuition. It's just you're paying tuition in the semesters that you're on campus. So it does extend your time in program. Though I've seen students squish it pretty good sometimes to be done in about 4.5 years. So that's certainly an option. But like I said, it's I've never seen a student say that they wished they had just finished faster, because finishing within 4.5 or 5 years with a year of paid work experience in a professional environment really puts you in great stead for applying for full-time jobs.
Great. Now we have a question related to course enrollment, which I think many people might be wondering the same thing. So, should the student be admitted? When can they expect to pick their courses for their first year?
Tabry, I'm guessing you can answer that one.
hmm It can change slightly year to year. Usually it's around May. Um, yeah, so we'll see if it's the same for this upcoming year, but it'll be sometime around May.
Great. And you will definitely get that information communicated out to you from the admissions office.
Now we have another question related to psychology, but particularly pertaining to the co-op option. So the prospective student is mentioning, apart from rats, do we get to experience, for example, hands-on looking at the brain or something related to neuroscience?
Excellent. So I'm confident you can answer that one, Simon.
Yeah, that's a fantastic
Just
question.
rats, nothing but
Yeah,
rats.
just rats, nothing else. The odd mouse. No, what's great about the co-op program and psychology are the diverse opportunities for students. And so, while I sort of tend to champion neuroscience, there are co-op positions that are available in industrial organizational psychology. Areas that relate to mental health. You can definitely work in a lab, should you wish. And so a couple of different ways to approach that. You could apply for the honors program. And in that case, you can pick from a number of different areas that include clinical psychology, social psychology, and so on. So definitely not limited to rats, but come on, baby rats are the cutest little things, right?
It's debatable.
Now we have a question related to art history. So the prospective student is wondering, is there any field work or research pertaining to art history, or is it only reading and writing as mentioned?
I can
Yeah,
help
no,
with
the
that
art
one.
history program has quite a lot of fantastic opportunities for. Did you say, sorry, history or art history?
Art history.
Art history, perfect. Okay, just wanted to make sure. But because I wasn't going to steal the thunder of a history professor. But the art history program also has a co-op option. So students who are working in art history can also participate in doing work terms related to that program. Within the Department of Art and Art History is also the Museum and Heritage Studies program, and students who are part of that program participate in a practicum during their program where they are placed with a museum or heritage organization and do some part-time work with that organization as well. And I think in all of our programs, like I said, there's a real emphasis upon giving students a chance to do hands-on work. So these are and of course art history. You're also going to spend a lot of time working with images, and there are some neat opportunities to study abroad related to art history as well, which is a great thing to keep in mind as you're considering your program.
We have a second question related to choosing classes. So is there any way to learn more about each class and the professors that are teaching courses prior to them choosing their first year courses?
Tabry, can you answer that one?
Um, Maybe a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah,
I'll pick
so
up
as
at where you leave off.
yeah, so as far as choosing classes, when you're searching for classes, there's a little short blurb description for the class so you can get a general idea of what the class is about. Um, if you know someone who's at the university who's taken the class, you could chat with them about the class. There's a lot of like word of mouth basically between students on how they liked a certain class or a professor. So you'll kind of hear that when you're on campus for sure, and you're talking to different people. Yeah, it's there's not like a official guide to like which professor to choose kind of thing. So in your first year, you're kind of just trying different professors out, different subjects out.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll just mention as well that when you are starting to think about which programs you're most interested in, go visit the website for that program, because that's a great place to get information about the courses. There's also a listing of all the professors in the program, and you can click on each of their names and learn about what their areas of specialization are and some of the courses that they teach. So a great opportunity to gather information that way as well. I'll also mention, just because we happen to be working on acceptance letters, getting those ready to go out very soon. And one of the things that we're doing in those acceptance letters is providing students with the contact information of the Faculty of Arts Students Association, the Students Union, and the academic clubs for each of our programs. So that's a great opportunity for you to reach out and get sort of a student's perspective on some of those great courses. Luis, I know that we are at time, and
Yes.
so we can stick around for a few more minutes to answer, some
Yeah.
questions that folks have in writing.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that those who need to leave right away are able to do so. So I want to take a moment to thank the folks that joined me here tonight. Our 3 professors, our 2 students, our fantastic program advisor, for being here to share their knowledge and experience with you. And I want to thank all of you for being here and for joining us tonight. I know that you are heading into some big decisions in your life, and we're honored that you're considering the University of Calgary. We are here to answer any questions that you might have as you're making that decision. The contact information right here on your screen now, arts ads at University of Calgary or ucalgary.ca, is going to bring you directly to our advising center. So we will make sure that we follow up, and yeah, just wanted to wish you a great night, and good luck with your decision making. And I'll let the rest of our panelists exit for the evening now, and Luis and I will stick around to see if there's any further
Yeah.
questions that we can answer.
Yeah, and adding on to the previous question, I'm going to be sharing on the chat a first-year degree guide that anyone can take a look of the different courses that you could be expecting to take in your first year. This applies for all of the different programs that we offer. So I would strongly recommend that you take a look at that link so you can have an idea of what kind of courses you can take during your first year. We have 2 more questions. One is related to the co-op program in terms of international relations. So what options would there be for an international relations students in terms of co-op positions?
Can you, sorry, say that for me one more time there, Luis?
Yes. So what co-op options would be available for someone majoring in international relations?
Yeah, there's all kinds of opportunities that are available. Simka, do you want to mention some of the co-op opportunities that you've had since you're still here?
Yes, mine has actually been very strange in the sense that I have done co-op internships at a TV studio and at a music center. While mine is very different to everyone else's, in the international relations degree itself is really multidisciplinary, and so that basically opens you up to anything. So we take classes in history, we take classes in dance, for example, if you wanted to. We take classes in political science, classes in economics, and so you could essentially, if you develop your skills to be good enough, you could take internships in any of these fields. And it's just like an open-ended question, actually, because I've seen people do HR, some people do policy analysis in the government. I've seen other people intern at Fisheries Canada, and other people work for private sector banks as financial analysts. And so it's an open-ended question. You can do whatever you want to do as long as you're interested in it.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And do we have a final
Um,
question?
Yes, we have two remaining questions.
Two
One
remaining
is
questions. Okay.
one student is wondering whether if they pursue psychology and political science, how could that affect their co-op options for them to pursue?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that the answer that Simca just gave is actually really relevant here because our co-op students sometimes work in placements that seem really obvious in terms of the fit for their program. A psychology student might work in the context of a mental health organization. A student in political science might work in a government context or a government relations organization. But as Simca said, we also have students who do work that is financially oriented, work that is public relations or communications oriented. Sometimes they're working for a nonprofit or for a business. And, one of the things we really pride ourselves on when it comes to students in our arts degrees is their adaptability and their flexibility to move into any kind of a professional environment. So lots of great opportunities for either of those programs.
And the final question that we have is what kind of science courses are geared to art students specifically?
Oh, that's a good question, and
Yeah.
I don't know that I have the answer to that. There are definitely some science courses that are identified as courses for non-majors, and that's usually a pretty good signal for you that. So, for example, there may be a biology course that is intended for biology majors and a biology course that's intended for non-majors. So, for students who want to take a single biology course but are not interested in pursuing a degree in it, so the Faculty of Science is well set up to ensure that art students who take science courses are doing so in a way that's accessible and relevant for them. So when you start putting together your plans for the year and are getting ready to register for your courses, that would be a great opportunity if you can't tell immediately for yourself, then to reach out to the Art Student Center and they would be able to give you some advice about which of those science courses are really intended for students who are not majoring in science.
Yeah. So I'm going to be sharing in the chat one really good resource on options for first years, which includes a section on the science courses. So just to give you an idea of what potential courses you can take. In my own personal experience, I'm in poli sci, but I took geology and biology, and I really enjoyed both courses.
That's great. That's excellent to hear.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you again, everyone who
Yep.
stuck around to the end. Really a pleasure to spend the last hour with you, and don't hesitate to follow up if you have any questions for us. And
Yep.
thanks, Louise, for all your help, and we'll look forward
Yeah.
to seeing folks next year.